Welcome to Public Facilities Committee meeting. We'll go ahead and call this to order. Thank you guys for sticking around. And because of Mark Lawson, we're an hour late, but it's okay. If you guys could all stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Alrighty, thank you all for coming today. Are we good with our statement of compliance with FOIA?
Yes, sir.
Thank you very much. We'll have a approval for the agenda. Can I have a motion, please?
I'll make that motion.
And a second?
I'll second it.
Seconded by Tab. Any discussion? Can the agenda be approved with no discussion or objection? And I see none. The agenda will be approved. I'll ask for approval for the minutes from October 20th, thank you, 2025. A second?
Well, I'll be happy to second it. I read them.
Second it with Tab. Any objection? Again, this will be approved with no objection, and we will jump right into our public comment period. We do have 15 minutes. I have 2 people signed up already. It looks like Mr. Butler. Hi, how are you today?
Good, how are you doing?
Doing fantastic.
My name is Chris Butler. I represent Butler Marine. Wanted to make a public comment regarding the change to the ordinance for the boat landings. I've read through some of the changes. I understand the issue that's having, especially south of the Broad. I completely understand how to, you're trying to address this. However, what's not in here, an exemption for boat dealers, which would basically affect us from the standpoint of we have to deal with customers' boats that we're working on that need to be river tested. And then on top of that, we do sea trials and deliveries. We try to stay out of the boat landings on the weekends. That's not good for us. It's not efficient for us. So we tend to use it during the week when there's very few people there. So I'm requesting that when this is rewritten, I know it's not being voted on today, but that something is put into the ordinance to exclude or exempt boat dealers, boat repair facilities. That's what I'm asking for. All right?
Thank you, sir.
Thank you for your time.
I appreciate it. All right, and the other one, Christopher? And tell me how to pronounce your last name?
Shoemaker.
Shoemaker, thank you.
Oh, yeah. Hey, Chris. Sorry.
How's it going?
That wasn't here.
See you.
His handwriting's like mine. It was hard, but it's okay. I promise. We're good.
So
How you
yeah,
doing, sir?
thanks for having me. I was just wanted to address the proposal where you limited the or shuttle to 6 or less. I've got boats that hold 6 or more. They're Coast Guard inspected. So basically, a lot of the shuttling between Defusky Island and Bluffton, at the landing, when we drop off, it's really, there's no cars or not obstructing any parking or anything. And the boats are about the same size as the uninspected. Just the difference is the Coast Guard inspects my boats. They're actually more safe, and you can handle up to 12 passengers. So I was seeing if you could change that from 12 instead of 6. So, like I said, I don't know if there's parking issues at those landings, but I provide my own parking, and then when you drop people off onto Fusky, there's no cars there's no not causing any parking issues. It's just drop off, pick up, so not affecting other boats being put in or out. It's like Defusky, surprised there's not anyone speaking on behalf of them here today, but they need those landings for not just people being brought over, but supplies, food, stuff like that. So if you could just consider changing that, I'd appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anybody else that didn't get a sign up that would like to speak? All right, I will just tell both of you gentlemen that I had that on my list to discuss. Both of them, they're 2 of the 3 things, so they will be discussed. If you don't want to wait to the end and watch it later, just so you know they will be addressed and talked about today. All right, we will move on into our agenda items then. Approval of a contract to change order to Wood and Partners for additional permitting requirements for Camp St. Mary's Park Development Project. Do I have a motion to put this on the floor?
So moved.
Thank you. And a second?
I'll second.
By Mr. Glover. Thank you, sir. Hi, how are you?
Hi, I'm good. Stephanie Najid, Director of Land Preservation Department. Thank you very much. In August of 2024, County Council approved the contract for Wood & Partners to complete the civil planning, permitting, and construction oversight for the Camp St. Mary's Pass Park Development Project. It was executed in November of last year. It was for a period of 12 months at $284,150. During the permitting process, the State Historic Preservation Office and the South Carolina Department of Natural Resources requested some additional information that we were unaware of at the time when we submitted the permit. They informed us there is a bald eagle nest within 660 feet. It's actually on private property, so it's not on our property. And because of the bend in the river, we didn't see it. But it is within the distance that DNR requires us to do some monitoring. So we have to do a preliminary assessment of the nest this winter to determine if it's actually still active or not. And then when we go to bid for construction, there's probably going to be monitoring we need to do during the construction. But that's separate from the request now to do the assessment. The State Historic Preservation Office also informed us that there are 2 archaeological polygons on the property. So they are requiring a phase 1 archaeological assessment, and then dependent on what that comes back as, they may require us to do a phase 2. So the change order that Wood & Partners gave us is the phase 1 and the bald eagles, as well as an estimate for the phase 2, and then I've added a contingency on that as well, just in case that phase 2 is needed and goes over. So this change order is an up to amount. It could be less if we don't have to do the phase 2, but we didn't want to get started on that process without having something in place so we could just keep continuing to move the permitting forward. So that recommended amount, the request is the $96,245 plus the 10% contingency, which does increase the existing contract by $134,285. We do have that available in the Passive Parks Bond Fund. It currently has a 2.6-ish. It's reduced since this was submitted, but about a 2.6 balance remaining.
All right. Any questions? Yes, ma'am.
So how much have we already spent on this property? This is like the gift that keeps on giving?
So the $2 million of the $2 million allocated towards Camp St. Mary's, we have spent, including this contract, we'll have just shy of 1.4 remaining to go to construction, including this request. So roughly $600,000 with the planning and the demo and permitting fees.
And will we be able to achieve our goal to make this open to the public with $600,000? What about if there's phase 2 of this archaeological survey?
So this change order does include the phase 2.
So will we be able to meet
Estimated.
our goal under $2 million?
I'm hoping, but yes. I mean, according to our engineer's estimate, which was done a couple years ago now, the $2 million was going to be sufficient, and we're still good in meeting that budget. But once we get to construction and get the bids, then with market prices
And what's your
We just need
projected timeline to complete this project? Do you have a thought, any thought?
Yes, so now that we have to do the archaeological survey, that'll probably take most of next year, calendar year.
Okay.
And then, but we are hoping, aside from waiting for SHPO's approval, we can still get other approvals done with contingent upon SHPO being the final approval. So we are still hoping that we can get all of our permitting approvals by December of next year, get the archaeological surveys started, get those underway. Hopefully they won't take but about maybe 6 months to complete, and then finish the permitting in the last 6 months, and then hopefully go to bid in 27.
So about
Thank
3
you.
years.
Well, if we go to construction bid in January 27, then hopefully we can have there's not a ton of stuff to do, so it shouldn't take them more than 9 months. Once we get all the permits, it shouldn't take construction more than 9 months to complete.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Anybody online? Can this be approved with no objection?
Yes.
All right, I see no objection. Item A passes.
And just to be clear, this still goes to council because the original contract amount was
Right.
over 200.
Correct.
Got it. Oh,
Yes.
okay. Well, it's over the threshold anyways, isn't it?
No, it's within the threshold on this, but the contract was 284.
Oh, you're right.
So it's a council
134.
contract.
Yeah. All right. Approval to award contract to J. Bragg Consulting for Shell Point Drainage Improvement Design, Engineering, and Permitting. Do I have a motion to put this on?
So moved.
And a second?
I'll second it.
Thank you,
On
Tab.
behalf of Ms. Howard, this is her area.
How are you?
Good, and you?
Doing well.
So this is for design and permitting improvements to the Shell Point area for drainage. That area currently sees issues with flooding around Hamrick Drive. So this was originally solicited in April of '22, and J. Bragg was selected. Due to some issues that popped up with a previous study that was done, they were not able to complete their full scope of work, so their contract expired earlier on this year. So this is to provide them a new contract to complete that study. So, or not the study, but the design permitting for the improvements. The contract amount is $296,832. Staff recommends a 10% contingency to bring the full approval up to $326,000.
All right. Do we have any questions?
So this is additional to what was originally given to them under their contract?
No, this is just to complete the contract. So I don't think we're going over the original task order amount. This is just to, their contract expired, so this is to give them a new contract to be able to complete the work.
So the money that's coming out then, so was there something budgeted then back 3 years ago that was still in the budget?
Yes, there was still left on the budget to complete the project, but the contract expired before we could extend it.
Okay.
Let me ask it another way.
Okay, go
How
ahead.
much did we spend so far?
Oh, we
with
spent,
J-Brad?
it was about $323,000 so far.
Okay, and then we're gonna add another 300 and some thousand for about 600
Yes,
to
sir.
$700,000.
Yes, sir.
Which was originally the scope.
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you.
And when you say the contract expired, is that due to us or them?
This project had passed around coming from Public Works to engineering, so in that transition period, it had a precise expiration date, I think it was June 15th, and that just did not get caught in the transition.
So it's on us.
Yes.
Any other discussion? So just to clarify for the public, that means we're not adding any extra funds to it. We're just renegotiating or re-upping the contract for the remaining balance from the original scope.
Yes.
All right. Any objection? And this will also be approved with no objection. Move on to C, approval of contract to infrastructure consulting and engineering for Beaufort County 2018 pathway projects. We have a motion to put this on the floor.
So moved.
Thank you, Mr. Passman.
A second.
By Mr. Glover. All righty.
Right. And this is to give a new contract to infrastructure consulting and engineering, a new contract to complete the 2018 pathways. This one, their previous contract was, it has reached the maximum time on the contract, so they are up for a new contract. And this one is, their previous contract had a, kind of a generic design services, which there was out of scope work involved with that for right-of-way services, additional design that was needed for structures, for bridges, for pathways and things like that. So this is going to be in addition to the previous contract amount for $1.1 million with a 10% contingency of $113,000.
Any questions?
And I'm sorry, most of this is going to be to complete right-of-way acquisition, so.
That's always fun. That'll take you another 2 years.
Yeah.
All right, I see no discussion. Is there any objection to this? All right, this can be approved with no objection. All
Thank
right,
you.
thank you very
Is
much.
this your sidewalk? Is this the
We'll
sidewalk
move
that
on to the next item, Airport Capital Improvement Program list for Executive Airport. I have a motion to put this on.
I'll make the motion.
Thank you,
I'll
Tab.
second that.
By Ms. Brown. John, how are you today?
Doing great, thank you very much. I bring this, the ACIPs to you every year as an informational item, just so you're in the loop into, as far as what we're going to be submitting to the FAA. The FAA requires each year that we submit to them a minimum 5-year capital improvement project plan. And that helps them program their funding over the next few years from the federal level. So if you look at Beaufort Executive Airport, actually both airports are really focused on safety and capacity projects on the CIP list. If you look at the two of them side by side, the biggest difference that you notice is the funding in each one, because Beaufort Executive, just a general aviation airport, so it's got a lower amount of federal funding, and then Hilton Head Island's got more federal funding there. But this just kind of shows you what we've got scheduled there. The first project at Beaufort Executive is that partial parallel taxiway project that you've seen before and approved the grants for. So look forward to being able to implement that. The other thing the FAA has that's a little bit unique is in between a design project and a construction project, they make you take a gap year, so it's not just a kid going to college, but we do that in the grant world sometimes as well. So this is our gap year coming up, and then 27 is when we'll actually execute the construction out there. So that's basically ARW or Beaufort Executive in a nutshell. So we can either entertain questions there or move on to Hilton Head, either way.
Because there's no action to be taken, we just need to have discussion, right?
And really, just as a reminder,
Just information.
what we do here is we'll submit this to the FAA, and then, yeah, I'm not looking for any action.
Okay,
So,
I thought so.
yeah.
I was just
No,
making
sir.
sure.
No.
Brian, I was ready for you, man.
I thought John could handle this.
Sure, got it. We submit it to the FAA, and then it results in a meeting between us and the FAA to just discuss what we think is kind of coming up at the airport, and we've already worked on this with them anyway, so they know what's coming. And it may change a couple of times before the March timeframe, which is when they kind of nail it in for the first year on this list, because that's when the grant funding starts coming around, is in springtime. So that's kind of the way the system works, but it's a collaborative approach between the airports and the FAA.
All right, since we have no action to be taken on it, let's just go ahead, and if I can get a motion for E as well, it's another informational item, the Airport Capital Improvement Program list for Hilton Head Island Airport.
So moved.
Thank you very much.
Second that.
And seconded by Ms. Brown.
All right, and again, on that one, it's focused mostly on the safety and capacity projects. Hilton Head's going to be a little bit more interesting. We've got some blanks in there on the dollar side, and that's because we're in the midst of a master plan update at Hilton Head as well. So we've got what we think the FAA wants to see on the CIP list, but we're fairly confident that there's going to be some changes there based on the master plan. So it's a little bit in flux, hence the collaborative approach with the FAA.
Any questions for John?
No.
You always get off easy, every time. It's always easy.
That's because he really doesn't ask for money.
I know, it's crazy. It's always just grant approval.
And that's the next one.
All righty. Move on to a resolution to accept South Carolina Aeronautics Commission Commercial Airport Entitlement Grant funding for terminal lot tree removal at the Hilton Head Island Airport, contingent upon the final SCAC grant offer. A motion to put this on the floor?
So moved.
Thank you, sir.
Second that.
Thank you, Ms. Brown.
All right, so this is as it says, it's just a grant, accepting grants. We'll actually be presenting this tomorrow up at South Carolina Aeronautics. And we had some trees in the parking lot that get struck by lightning and killed the trees. They became hazard trees, so they had to be removed. And we also were able to elevate the lower part of the canopy of trees, which is a great time of year to do it with daylight savings time expiring, because it gets dark earlier. So we've got more and more people in and out of the terminal parking lot in hours of darkness. And so by raising the canopies, it allows those parking lot lights to be a lot more effective. So that's what this did. We just cleaned up the parking lot and removed hazard trees.
All right, any questions?
Yes, just one quick one. Removal, refurbishing, reforesting? Or you
No,
don't-
these are pine trees,
or you don't-
so there's no requirement. And they were killed by lightning, so there was no requirement.
I mean, you don't have to put a pine back up, but you can put something.
No, according to the land management ordinance, it's not required.
That's not gonna be done, huh? Okay. You do know the canopy of trees kind of save energy, but go ahead.
Airports don't like trees,
Yeah.
Thank you, Brian.
That's true, that's true.
airplanes.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Brian, for pointing that out.
Can this be done with no objection? And I see no objection. This will also be approved and moved on to county council.
Thank you.
Sir.
Thanks.
All right. A resolution authorizing the execution of the first amended intergovernmental agreement between Beaufort County and the South Carolina Transportation Infrastructure Bank for the US 278 corridor project. Do I have a
So
motion?
moved.
Yeah, I figured
I'll
you'd be
second
jumping.
it.
There it is, and the second by Tab. Jared, you've been waiting a long time for this one.
This is a good day. Yes, that's right.
Floor is yours, my friend.
Okay, so as most of you in the room hopefully know, and definitely council, so this is our amended project for the US 278 bridge project. So our amended project is a 3-lane bridge section on the eastbound, replacing the 2 eastbound bridges going to Hilton Head. It will be striped as 2 lanes, but it'll be wide enough for 3 lanes, and that is the rebranded project that we're moving forward. The total price is $311 million, $11.6 million. The couple things that were sent to SIB, SIB has voted on it. They also sent it to the joint bond review to make sure they got authority to give approval to that. They have, all those check boxes have taken place. And we worked with the SIB's attorneys to draft the amended IGA. They put in a few things just to note the parts that are important. Obviously, it's the funding part of the project, and then the structure as far as the prioritization of funds, how those flow out. The county's funds go first. That was already structured in the original IGA, and the SIBs come out last. DOT also committed that they will help contribute up to 30% of overruns. So that was big in their decision, SIB's decision to uphold the proposed amendment. And then it has a construction date of 2031. So that is our new date with the SIB, is the end of the year of 2031 to be fully constructed. So hopefully we can deliver before that, but that is the end of our agreement date. The other thing that they did add into the amended IGA, this came from their lawyers, due to other projects that they've had around the state, they put a little bit extra teeth on there. If the project starts to fall apart, that they can pull back their funds a little bit more easier from their standpoint. It doesn't mean anything unless we've expended funds and then the project falls apart. To date, we have not expended any funds. All the funds, the $120 million that we have attributed towards the project from SIB, are geared towards construction. So we haven't made it to construction yet. So we haven't spent any funds if something happened anyhow. So those are the updates that are included in the IGA that is also there in the backup for reference.
I have a question. Oh, it's you, I'm sorry. Wrong one. So it says in the event of default, the county shall pay the bank reasonable attorney fees. Good grief. We're going to assume the state will assess us a reasonable attorney fee?
Yes, so
Yeah.
again, this is from other complications they've had on other projects, and so they added some language
I
there.
saw that.
But that is, yes.
Do we get to determine its reasonable fee, or?
I'm sure
okay?
our attorney will have his comments on whether it's reasonable or not.
I'm
If
sure
they-
not.
Our goal is not to even get to that point, but in the
never
event
know.
that we have to, that's what that provision's for.
Yeah.
We don't have to let them bully us. We can disagree with them, and if they want to challenge us, it would go to court.
Because in the end, are there any reasonable attorney fees? Let's be honest here.
I think my
Okay.
fees are reasonable.
That's just rhetorical, sorry.
Any other discussion?
Yep.
Jared, good job. This has been talked about for like 20 years now.
Well, there's a
I'm
lot
so
of players that are
excited.
involved, so I'm just glad
Yeah.
that it's moving forward.
To be honest, this 20 years ago, I was still in middle school and they were discussing this. So for this to actually,
Really?
I'm being completely honest with you. They've been talking about this since then. And for this finally to get done,
Okay.
this council, you know, and your staff to be able to get this full circle, we're just happy to move forward and stop kicking the can down the road. So thank you, and to your team, one heck of a job.
Yep,
Can this
absolutely.
be approved with no objection?
Yes.
Yes.
I see no objection. This is approved. All right, H, a resolution authorizing the execution of a cost-shared agreement between Beaufort County, the town of Bluffton, and the Buckwalter Place Association for the development, construction, and ownership of the Washington Square Buckwalter Place Connector Road. Do I have a motion to put this on the floor?
Make that motion.
Thank you, Mark. Second?
I'll second that.
Thank you, Mr. Passman. Jared?
So this is similar to another cost share agreement that council committed to with the town of Bluffton, different developer, but a similar project. So this is off of Buckwalter, and it connects Buckwalter Place and Washington Square developments. So there's a plan for a connection road, and the intent is that people using both developments, they don't even have to get on Buckwalter. They can use the access road to get back and forth to the developments. And so as part of this, the three-way commitment is between the town, the county, and the developer of Buckwalter Place. The Buckwalter Place, they would take the lead and move forward in the construction, and then we would split the costs estimated at $400,000 in a three-way split, so $133,000. There is a 20% contingency, so if the price goes beyond that, that's our outer limit is 133 plus 20% of 400,000, so 80,000, a third of that. And then at the end of the conclusion of this construction, this project, this roadway would be turned over to the town of Bluffton. They would be the long-term owner of a public street. So we're contributing. It would be impact fees that we would utilize for our share, and if approved, we'd coordinate back with the town and the developer.
Any discussion?
Do we know exactly where it's going to connect?
Yeah, so I don't have the exhibit. I thought it was attached, but I didn't.
No, it wasn't.
It's behind the gas station,
Okay,
and
the Kroger,
it's
yeah.
already, there was a permit already for the wetlands, so it's already kind of established, but it ties back to the road. Washington Square already has it paved to the property line,
Right.
and then it
Behind
comes in
Starbucks.
just in front of Kroger.
Right, that's what I thought.
It's where that
Okay.
pond is on the right
Yeah.
behind it. It goes right
Yeah.
to that easement.
That's right.
Yeah, okay.
Anybody else?
I have
Yes,
some
ma'am.
Questions. So the county's going to put money into a road that's going to be owned by Bluffton. Why are we even putting any money in?
So this was something that was identified in our impact fee study. So Buckwalter Place Access Management. And so anything that has safety or capacity, and this addresses both safety and capacity. So people that aren't using, more people that aren't using Buckwalter is a betterment of that roadway.
Mhm.
So that's the reason that we're entertaining.
You know
it.
who the owner is of Washington Square. He's also on the Transportation Committee, is that correct?
Yeah,
he
I believe he
was.
was recently, yes.
Oh, is he no longer on there?
No, he recently became on the Transportation Committee, that's right.
Do you don't think that's a conflict?
No, this has been
This
a
has been
connector road for a long
long
time planned.
Yeah.
And again, regardless of the owner of the
Like how
development,
long? Like how long?
Beginning of development of Kroger.
since
Yeah.
Buckwalter Place
like-
PUD was
Yeah.
Like
established.
10
exact-
years ago, maybe?
Before
Yeah.
that.
Okay, all right,
Because they're
fine.
even,
I don't have any more
Long time
questions.
ago.
Thanks.
yeah,
Thank
because
you.
the ultimate goal is there's another connection that's going to go to the back lot of the movie theater to Washington Square as well. If you look at
The
the
movie
access
theater?
management plan of Buckwalter that we just updated a couple years ago, the goal is to keep as many people off Buckwalter as possible.
Right.
So now you'll have the ability to basically go from that entrance off of Bluffton Parkway and hopefully all the way down to the movie theater without touching Buckwalter.
Oh.
We
So-
also have a access management plan for Buckwalter, the county does. So Buckwalter's county-owned road, we have an access management plan. I think it was originally done in 2007, and then we updated it in 2021. And it highlights creating connector roads alongside both sides of Buckwalter wherever we can in order to keep as many vehicles off Buckwalter as possible.
Okay.
Was this one of the connectors?
Yeah.
It was, yep. And the connectors on that access plan, they're just lines,
Mhm.
just to represent future connector roads. This is the actual connector road itself, so it's making good on the access management
Also,
plan.
isn't this road going to be, is going to be accessed by, a corporate headquarters is going to go in there also?
I'm not aware,
Next to Washington Square?
I'm not
No,
aware
you're
of
not.
what. the-
'Cause is that where it is? Is where the Starbucks is? It's going
Yeah,
behind
so if
Starbucks?
if you're going to
Out the gas
Starbucks,
station, right?
yeah, if
So
you're at
you'll be able to
Starbucks,
cut through there and not get on Buckwalter? Go
correct.
from
You
Washington
could go
Square
from
to-
Starbucks to
Or
Kroger
if
and
you're
not
going
get
to
on
the bowling
Buckwalter.
alley?
Yeah.
Bold, very bold.
Anyway, thank you so much, Jared. I
You're
appreciate it. Okay.
With that said, this has been something that's been discussed since Buckwalter Place even started to be developed to connect all those roads. Our goal is to alleviate traffic and to continue to do that, and this is something that gets it done. And honestly, I'd rather the town of Bluffton own and operate it so it doesn't get choppy, because they already are maintaining some of the other roads, so it makes sense for them to continue to do it. Plus, it doesn't put a tax burden on our taxpayers to continue to maintain that road for the next 20 and 30 years. Do we have any objection to this?
No?
Nope.
All right, and I see no objection. This will be approved.
Thank you.
Alrighty. An ordinance authorizing the acceptance of possible and eminent domain associated with a drainage easement located in Rivers Inn subdivision identified as open area and plat book 59 at page 118. A motion to put this on the floor.
So moved.
And a
I'll
second?
second it.
Yep, thank you, Mr. Lawson. Discussion. Hi, how are you?
Hi, good.
Hello.
Here to answer any questions. Taylor Brewer, Stormwater Manager.
I always have the same question when we do eminent domain. Have we tried and exhausted all options for whichever property owners have not responded back?
So we are currently looking for easements. We've sent out documents and we are getting a positive response. So we're hopeful that we'll be able to get all 154 signatures without having to go to condemnation. The good news is we've already heard back from the owners in California. We had 8 parcels that we were pretty worried about, but they've already signed their maintenance agreements and they're coming in daily. So
I'm happy you put a number on that so we can explain to people, like when you talk about the 2018 referendum, it's not that we're not trying, but if one of those doesn't sign off, it could put a hold on the project for over a year, easy.
absolutely.
Multiple
And
years.
just to reiterate, this is a project we're putting major money into to restore the drainage system along the main drag, and that will be pretty much not effective unless we can maintain the pond. And in this instance, everyone in the community owns 1/54 of the pond, and it has not been maintained, so.
All right, any discussion?
No?
Can this be approved with no objection? All right, I see no objection.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, that ends.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, sir.
Before you go on, Ms. Taylor, could I see you after the meeting?
Yes.
Are you gonna be around? Okay, that's it. That's
After
it?
today, maybe not today, but can I give you a phone call or something?
Oh, you're not gonna be around after this meeting?
No,
You can
sir, I don't
certainly
think I'll-
bring it up with me.
I'll
Have you-
talk to, okay, thank you.
Yes, sir.
All right, that ends our action items. Now we have a couple discussion items. Just so everyone understands, these are discussion. I enjoy having these on here because this is how work actually gets done in the public and not behind closed doors. This is the way efficient government should work. So we will go ahead and just start jumping into a couple of these. Discussion regarding the acceptance of private roads of Summers Point, Phase 2 HOA roads into the county road inventory. I have a motion to put this discussion on the floor.
I'll make that motion.
In a second, please.
I'll second.
Thank you, Mr. Glover. Welcome back.
Thank you. Yeah, so Somerset Point is a neighborhood in Lays Island at the end of Marsh Hawk. Phase 1 was completed when the county used to take over roads just by deeding them, when the developer deeded them to us. That's no longer our policy. We have policy statement 15 and 17 that now governs taking over private roads. So Phase 2 was built a good while after Phase 1. The neighborhood has reached out to our right-of-way managers, Patty Wilson and Kelsey Floyd, to discuss taking the roads in. So we wanted to bring that forward to y'all. There's about seven roads, 0.95 miles in Phase 2, 10 roads, 3.25 miles in Phase 1. Phase 1 roads are currently county maintained and county roads. So is there any questions with any of this?
Has this gone to the CTC?
It has not. I spoke to Chairman Gordon this morning, and he was on board with it, but we would take it to CTC in January.
Okay, because I don't want to bypass them.
Yeah, we would present it to them just kind of as an informational item. To bring the road in the system is y'all's decision. Whether they would want to spend CTC funds on the maintenance of it would be their decision, but he seemed amenable to it this morning.
So these are not dirt roads, correct?
No, ma'am, these are paved roads.
Okay.
And so we have the testing results from when the third-party tester, when the development was built. But we would move forward with additional due diligence to include pavement coring and videoing of the stormwater system, and would bring that to you in January, unless y'all had different thoughts.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, this is, since I've been here, this has not been one of our policies to do this. And if we do, we then open up the can of worms to then accept every other development in Beaufort County, north and south, and you see what the cost is.
Yes, sir.
If we start accepting these in all these other neighborhoods, again, the neighborhoods have associations, which they're paying for other things in the neighborhood, that they should be able to, every homeowner, to pay for that and put money aside and have a fund to pay for this. I think we even turned down Verdier View or something like that, that they came to us recently and wanted us to bring their roads into the county as a county road, but again, they're privately owned. I am not for us starting to do this, because again, you start talking about the costs, 20-year resurfacing, $2.4 million. That's just for this one neighborhood with the amount of miles that you've got. That we then do it for them when the next development's gonna come in and say, well, you did it for them, why don't you do it for us? And then we end up adding to our county roads, which are really just used by those developments. Most of them are all dead ends, most of them are cul-de-sacs, most of them have an entrance in, an entrance out that
Yeah,
the
these
public
are
is not gonna use it unless you're going to visit one of those people that live there. So the only people that are using it are people that live there, so.
yeah, this is not a gated community, but there's not outlet outside the neighborhood, so.
So, yeah, I mean, I think this is opening up a bad precedent for us to accept private roads as county roads. We have not done that, and again, for multiple reasons.
And I would agree with Mr. Lawson, except for it says here, we own the roads and stormwater infrastructure with phase one.
Yes, ma'am.
So how did we own phase one and now we don't own these?
Because, again, going back to phase one, that's when a developer could just deed the roads to the county. And that's no longer a policy. That's why we have policy statement 15 and 17, which has to go through the process of bringing them to you for a vote. So, yeah, we own 3.25 miles in phase one, own and maintain, and this would add on 0.95 miles. So it's a little different than typical, but yeah, so phase one is owned and maintained by the county.
I too worry about taking roads from an HOA. I'd be happy to give you 165 miles of roads from Sun City, but it's a slippery slope,
Yes,
as
ma'am.
Mr. Lawson said.
Just to point out that along with the road is the stormwater system. So if
Yeah.
you didn't take the road or stormwater system, you'd own 2/3 of the stormwater system, but not the other third.
Yep.
Any other discussion?
It's a mess.
If I might, I agree with the chair, Mr. Lawson, and the vice chair, Tabernick. If we implement or accept this policy, then we open the door to actually apply this to all of our private roads that we bring into the county, including out in the rural areas also. So, like the chairman said, Mr. Lawson said, this is a slippery slope, and if we go down this, then we're going to be responsible for a whole lot more of private roads being taken into the county.
Mr. Chairman, I'm in the rural areas, so there's a lot of private roads over there, and there's a lot of, there may be a lot of, there won't be a lot of, there may be some requests for the county to consider private roads, so I'm not gonna be hypocritical here. The thing I would, I don't see a map, I see the map up there.
It's in here.
Yeah, this
Yeah.
should have been included in the backup.
It is.
It is.
I've been looking for it, but I don't see it in, but it doesn't really matter. You took in one section some time ago, and you normally would have taken in this here too, but because the policy changed, that's why it's coming before us. So.
And I believe when they designed it, they tried to deed the roads to us, but that's not the policy anymore, so they weren't able to just deed them over to the county, so.
And this is just a discussion item right now, but this is our plan of approach. We want to tell you guys, and then if y'all want to tell us differently, by all means, you can make a motion for that. But our plan of approach was, this is initial information, it's come to us, they come through all the processes as far as the HOA presenting it to us and our inspection by Public Works and Engineering.
I'll add, there are members of the community here as well today.
And then, so what we were planning on doing to do a little bit more due diligence, again, with some road corners to make sure it is actual full amount of pavement, as well as looking at the storm drainage system to make sure it was installed properly. We did not have any inspection during the construction of it. And then we would bring it back in January as a formal request for you to either take action or not action. If you choose for us not even to take that due diligence action, then by all means, it's a discussion item. But if somebody wants to make a motion, you're more than entitled to that. But our plan was to do some more due diligence and then bring it back in January.
Or at least provide the guidance as to whether to expend the effort or the money.
Yes, Mr.
I would
President.
appreciate that.
The concern I would have is the precedent setting if we move forward with this. Not that we shouldn't do this, but if we are to do this, I would like to have it couched in such a way that it is not precedent setting. Because as you said, initially, when it was being developed, originally, they wanted to turn it over to us, but things happened that way. So that we don't get in a situation, because like Tab said, we live in Sun City. It'd be great to turn 165 miles an hour, 165 miles of roadway over to the county, because then we don't have to pay for it.
But you have to make it public.
I think that's here, if council wanted to go that way and end up accepting it, I think that's the way you could couch it, is that it was originally deeded to us. The second phase is part of the master plan, and it wasn't constructed at the same time. Our policy has since changed, and now they're coming in with the second phase. So it's a little bit different than our normal road project, but Mr. Martin.
I was just going to add, based on our discussion last week, confirm, it was built to county standards at that time.
Yeah.
And we wanted to do the due diligence just to ensure, before we made that recommendation, do you all take it into the system?
Yeah, we have the third-party testing reports from the developer's testing firm, but we did not have boots on the ground doing our own inspection.
Let me just add, there's probably a dozen, 2 dozen neighborhoods in at least the Bluffton area that don't have guard gates, that at that time they were built to county standards, hoping to turn them over, but then it was changed and didn't allow it after that. So like I said, this one circumstance we could possibly look at, I'm still probably against it, because again, there's so many other people out there that,
Yeah,
I mean, I can name Fern Lakes and Lake Linden, and I just keep going on and on and on, that all would qualify.
Well, most of the roads in Lake Linden, we do own and maintain.
Lake Linden?
Okay, and that's an older neighborhood that we probably weren't taking them in.
Yeah. Yeah.
But all the other newer ones, the farm and, all those other ones out
So
there
I was
that are
thinking
private.
Farm, Pine Ridge, all that.
Yeah,
Pine Crest.
exactly.
Any other discussion before I have a comment?
No.
Yeah, my biggest thing is two. One, I don't think there's any way we get out of this without opening up the door for others to say, well, we started building before you changed those rules, so we should be grandfathered in, and I see that being an issue. The other problem I have too is, I don't know if this community is, but a lot of these communities, even non-gated, still have HOAs. They charge their residents HOA for this exact thing, to go for resurfacing, drainage, maintenance around the neighborhood. We just got the roads done in my neighborhood, and I promise you they took it out of our accounts. So my question is, those HOAs are still paying, those residents are still paying, and then the county's gonna pay it again. So really, we're double taxing our residents, or I wouldn't say taxing, but double charging our residents, because we're gonna use taxpayer funds to do those roads when they need to be redone, but they also had to pay their HOA that they live in. That was originally when they signed on to their HOA, supposed to take care of issues like that.
That's not fact. Apologize for interrupting.
Can I make a comment?
That's, excuse you, thank you very much, I appreciate that. So anyways, our HOA funds go towards resurfacing in my neighborhood. Like I said, I don't know if this neighborhood is, which is what I led with when I first said that statement. But if it sets a precedent for the rest of Beaufort County, that could set us in a problem. So if we are gonna take this in or look at this, we need to figure out how we can make sure that that doesn't set a precedent for those HOA and tax residents.
I think we understand that direction.
Is there any other discussion on this matter before we close it?
Logan, if I might chime in,
Yes, sir.
technically and legally, according to our policy, this does not apply, this does not warrant us moving forward with this. And so if by chance we do, then we open ourselves up to some lawsuits and some other cases that hadn't presented itself yet.
Yes, sir. Heard and understand and agree. All right, with that, we will close this discussion. Thank you, gentlemen. All right, we'll move on to the next item for discussion. Discussion of a proposed ordinance amendments of Beaufort County Ordinance, Chapter 102, Waterways, Article 1, Section 102-1, Definitions, Article 2, Division 1, Section 102-27, Purpose, Section 102-28, which is penalties, Section 102-29, general prohibitions, Section 102-30, docks and rules, Section 102-31, landing rules, Division 2, Section 102-61, description, Division 3, Section 102-95, description, Section 102-98, penalties, Section 102-99, general prohibitions, Section 102-10, dock rules, Section 102-101, landing rules, Article 3, Section 102-133, definitions, Section 102-134, penalties, Section 102-136, student riders, Section 102-137, public ridership. Do I have a motion to put this on the floor for a sense of discussion?
I'll make that motion.
Thank you, Mr. Lawson.
I'll second that.
Thank you, Ms. Brown.
And there you are again.
Good afternoon. Yes, happy to be back. Glad we were able to shave off about a quarter of that title for you to read there by the bifurcation.
As long as you got rid of the Roman numerals for fun.
Dylan Kidd, Deputy County Attorney, here back with you on the Waterways Ordinance. As committee and council may recall, at the prior Public Facilities meeting, there was a motion that was approved to bifurcate Article 4 from the rest of the provisions of this article. So before us today is Articles 1 through 3 that concern some regulation, proposed regulation of the waterways in our county facilities. So as you'll see in the backup material for today, what we've done since the last time that we met, several things. So you'll see in the proposed ordinance, we have as staff included 4 updates that reflect the discussion that we had in the last meeting. And then we have some additional options to discuss with you today. And we have some data to share as well. So starting with the proposed edits that are included in this version of the ordinance for discussion today. The first one is Section 102.1B. So in the first definition section, we took out the second provision or the later part of that paragraph under the commercial passenger definition, which set forth some limitations as to commercial passengers. We decided we proposed that it is better to deal with that specifically within the body of the ordinance pertaining to the landing. So you'll see that further down in the proposed legislation. So it's just shortening the definition there and making it only what is necessary for that particular section. The next amendment to show you is Section 102.29 A3, which is the exemptions. And we have added there that public and commercial use of county boat landings and parking areas may be restricted by the county for permitted purposes such as ferry service, embarkation, or other county uses. That's simply allowing the county to operate out of our facilities to the extent we have a need for it, and just ensuring that when we're cleaning up these definitions, we don't have conflicting provisions in there about what sort of activity can occur there and what the county is permitted to do. So that was one we added. The other section, and this is pertaining to this specific rules section, the general prohibitions, 102.29, and this is later down. This is subsection L was first. We removed, so it says the loading or unloading of cargo. It used to say or commercial passengers. We've taken that out to deal with that more specifically in the paragraph below it, which is M. And the specific paragraph dealing with that is M2, which proposes the limitations to 6 commercial passengers on commercial tours from county owner maintained areas. In connection with that, committee asked us at the last meeting to gather some data about the number of various licenses for charter fishing operators that we have locally. So our staff was able to determine that there are about 159 total fishing charter operators locally within the area. 151 of those operate with a six-pack license, which is when we were discussing last time the categories of fishing licenses. So 0 to 6 is the first category. 7 to 49 is the second category, and we found 7 operators that were licensed for that capacity. And then 50 plus, we only found 1 of those that were licensed for a 50 plus license. So as we kind of suspected, but we're glad to find that the six-pack license is by far the most common in the area. And so when we're thinking about ways, if we are seeking to limit commercial passengers or things of that nature to address the congestion and capacity at the landings, that's why the language limiting it to 6 commercial passengers was proposed and is currently contained in the proposed ordinance. So today, just some additional topics to discuss today. We had thought about adding another definition for charter, just to define what we mean by that, as opposed to in section M2 about that exception, we state charter or other commercial fishermen to the extent we want to define charter to make that totally clear what we're referring to. We'd be happy to add that as well. To the, let's see. We do have a section in there with temporary use authorizations. Especially, and this pertains to barges, so we do and we have received public comment and other input from folks around Defusky in particular about barges. They certainly do rely on them a lot more than perhaps other folks in the county. And one avenue, the language that is currently contained in there permits folks to operate those kind of barges to and from Defusky with the agreement of the county administrator is the proposed language now. It used to be the public works director, but we've updated everything to county administrator or designee. So it would be possible rather than, or one idea would be to continue to permit that by agreement with the county, or we could choose to go another way with how we want to look at that. Let's see. So, and the other materials contained here in the discussion section document that we included in the background were some of the stuff that we had that I had briefly touched on here. The landing rules with the barges, another definition for non-commercial, we can add that to section 10229, or revisiting the limitations based on the commercial license type. So these are all the areas that we have identified to discuss today. I would be happy, and ACA John Robinson would also be happy to answer any questions you may have, but we're looking forward to hearing some guidance and as to what committee and council may or may not be interested in doing in terms of regulation, and we'll attempt to reflect it as best we can.
Mr. Chair?
Again, before we go into that, it's exactly what you just said. This is a discussion. This is why we're working through it. This is the whole process of it. So, Mr. Lawson, you had your hand. Yes, sir.
Yes, and obviously I represent Defusky, and and to go backwards of where this all came from was the fact that we had landings and people would go to use them. We had people that were there with kayak companies, with charters, with everything else that was taking space at the landing. So when people call and say, hey, we can't get to it, people are making money. So that's why this thing came up. And it also came up because we did not have any rules when it came to, even though we have that sign posted, no more than 2 hour parking, boating at the landing, we had no way to enforce that. So we had people that said, screw you, and then left their boats there for a day, 2 days. And we had no way to go and remove that boat. And that happened, plenty of calls from Defusky, plenty of calls from Alljoy, that those happened. So that's where this whole ordinance came from, not from us trying to overreach what we're doing and trying to, implement our will on people, but it was to try to fill those points in the law. So with Defusky, they rely on obviously no bridge. Everything comes by boat. So I'll try to make this as simple as possible. When we start talking about this, most of what we've done is great. However, I would like to exclude temporarily or exclude permanently any landing or any dock on Defusky that has anything to do with cargo with unloading or loading with regards to passenger drop-off with a number of passengers. It'd be unlimited for, Mr. Shoemaker and what he's doing, because again, we don't know if someone's coming from Savannah, or what they've got, or where they're coming from, they still need to be licensed, still need to be approved. Anything to do with parking on Defusky, because those people a lot of times leave their car parked there at those landings. Anything to do with the barges. Again, I know that we're trying to control that, and they have to get permission to land, that makes sense. But again, that limits smaller barges, or people that have a smaller barge that's ferrying something over there that would get to it. So, and I almost think that some of that would also be part of the Pinckney Island as well, because again, that's where they're going to leave from most of the time and go to Defusky. So all those things, the last thing we want to do is to limit people on Defusky Island, because they're limited already, and to take away somehow that they get their goods, or they get the people that come there or leave there. I think the only thing that we had a problem with was that some of the ferry operators, unlike Mr. Shoemaker, they would meet their people at the dock, and the people would leave their cars then parked for 24 hours or 48 hours or all week long while they went to Defusky, and that ate up all the parking spots, which obviously over a 4th of July weekend would be an issue. So that's where I think that we really need to look at Defusky as its own entity, to take out as many of the restrictions as we can, keep the teeth in there that gives us the control of the docks, and to tell people to move, and they must be registered, must be all those type of things. So again, that's where, coming from who I represent and what I heard from people is very, very important. And whether that's other places in the county, but that's what we need definitely at Defusky Island landings and docks, and maybe even have a spot at Pinckney Island where that's also allowed there. The other recommendation after Mr. Butler got up and talked, that we talked about, is any place that says charter fishing. We also then need to put in boat dealers and also boat mechanics that also then would have access to those landings as well. And I agree that they're not going to be out there on a Saturday trying to test drive a boat at a landing on a Saturday with all those people there. So again, this being a discussion, that's where I really need to make sure that we are helping the people of Defusky and not hurting them.
Sure, understood.
I want to,
Ms. Brown,
Mr. Chair,
and then Mr. Passman.
I want to thank you, Mr. Lawson, for making that very clear, because those were my questions to Dylan. So, yeah, if the problem is Defusky or is Alljoy, deal with those, Marie, deal with those. But don't punish the people north of the Broad that use the marinas for their kayaks or their boats or whatever. So what do we do about that? I mean, can't we just leave the ordinance the way it was and just deal with the people in Defusky and Alljoy? Can we do that?
Well, part of this
I mean, like,
ordinance gives
okay,
them
and I'll
law
go back to
back it
Mr.
up.
Shoemaker. I mean, he just asked go from 6 to 12. We can't change that?
We can
Back
do
to
it.
12?
We can do anything committee and council would like to do, of
Okay,
course.
We're
yeah.
just looking for guidance from council.
Yeah, because I've taken Mr. Shoemaker's excursions, and, yeah, he can, it was only 4 of us, but, yeah, he can put 12 people on the boat. He took us to Defusky, but and then he came back and got us. We didn't spend the night over there.
Chairman?
Mr. Passman, and then we'll go Mr. Glover, then we'll go online.
Thank you.
Mark put it in perspective. It started with a problem on Defusky Island. There were unintended consequences by putting everything we put in there. So now what we have to do is to probably undo some of the things because they're harmful to some other areas. We need to have input from the various other areas, like we learned from the boat mechanics or from the boat dealers. I think that's the direction we should be giving you as, okay, here are conceptually the ideas, let's flesh them out, let's make the necessary changes so that we can make this something that we all can live with. We can't live with it the way it is right now.
I agree.
That was my question. Can we separate the problem areas from the rest of the policy? And you shaking your head saying yes.
I think that would require a little more data analysis on our end to see what the true hotspots of congestion are to do that. It may make it a little messier, but it is something we can certainly look into.
And we would just be sued by?
Less people.
We'd have to look at that as well, certainly.
Yeah, okay, thank you.
Mr. Reeds, you had a comment.
Yes, Chairman, thank you. I actually like what I'm hearing from my colleagues on council. We all heard a lot from the operators, the small mom and pops, in the previous council meeting. And I've met with and heard from the big marina operators, and none of us want to put anybody out of business. And that is, I applaud this council for leading with that and staying firm with that. But I also feel that, licensing, permitting, insurance, that's something that's across the board that keeps a level playing field. Dylan, is that correct?
I could certainly see that being a good argument, Councilman. I mean, it is important to have what did you need to have to operate, your distinct vessel. To what extent the county gets involved in regulating that it's a decision for committee and council.
Well, again, I appreciate the fact that we're not here to put people out of business for the sake of making a better ordinance. So, to me, I applaud you for that. Thank you.
Mr. Dawson, do you have anything?
No, I concur with the sentiments of us looking at what is being proposed and what we're trying to address, and actually look at the problematic parts of it and try to resolve those issues so that we don't actually cripple or hurt the business people while we're trying to actually provide the water access for the public as a whole. So I think us going through and taking a look at what has been highlighted and the concerns that we've heard at the public comment, take all that into consideration, see if we can't fine tune this thing.
All right. Yeah, I think it was said very simply, though, we're not in the business of putting people out of business. We're in the business of figuring out how we can make it the best for the community. That's got to be our job. With that said, I do have a couple questions. I would like to see us add that language into it. I know we've discussed it with staff multiple times that it was never our intention for boat dealers or repairs or anything like that. Let's just go ahead and put it in there. It doesn't hurt for us to clarify that to make sure that they are allowed to drop their boats in there, test them out, get them ready, because honestly, I'd rather have a safe boat out on the water than one that's going to break down that's going to cost us more taxpayer funding to get that taken care of anyways, with whether it's our sheriff's department or the Coast Guard. The other thing is, the numbers we had on it, right now it is capped at that 6, and I was one that asked that question of what the license is, so we could see. It's good to know that it's only 7 through that 7 to 49, but 49 will kill a parking lot. So I guess we need to start having the discussion of what is that number? Is it 12? Is it 15? Is it 20? Because and then to tie into that, maybe that question needs to be answered with this. When it comes to jet skis and kayaks, are those licensed done individually, or is that one business license? Because if it's one business license for a kayak and they have 28 kayaks, that's a big difference than a boat that holds 12 people.
It's per company.
So it's per company. So if they have one license, they could have 50 kayaks on there.
They could, but traditionally it's between 6 and 12 that they do on a tour.
Okay.
I want to clarify the language concerning the license. So the license that we're talking about and the information you have here is issued by the U.S. Coast Guard.
Right.
They have a maritime center that manages that for them. They don't necessarily track those licenses are good nationwide, so they don't track those licenses per a specific location. The licenses that you see here is information that we got from the Port Royal Sound Foundation from DNR, so some connections there, and these only are in reference to charter fishermen. This does not include any other ecotourism or kayak tours, paddle boards, or any of that. Only charter fishermen, because they do report the species and fish that they catch when they're out in the field. That's what that information comes from.
But
Just to be clear.
None of that prohibits you from setting the cap as far as the number of passengers.
That's correct.
Vessel.
And so just a couple things I want to touch on here, just to make sure we're understanding the points of discussion and the direction that you have for staff here. So I'm hearing certainly want to look at specific restrictions on Defusky and ensuring that we are not prohibiting them from receiving supplies or movement of people to and from. We can certainly do that. As to the dealer's language, I'm certainly happy to add that. We had previously explained that nothing in the current proposed ordinance, I think, would prohibit that type of activity, but certainly I understand, willingness to have peace of mind, to have it specifically stated, so we would certainly be happy to add that. Regarding the kayaks and jet skis and things of that nature, so currently the provisions that would apply to that are those that deal with the commercial transactions on site at the landings. So what we were looking to do there was to address an issue of when someone brings down a full trailer full of jet skis and sits there and rents them out and puts them in and out all day, because we know we had gotten instances of that before. So the way we try to get at that, and the kayak issue being the same thing, someone coming down with a trailer full of kayaks and renting them, was to prohibit those type of transactions on site, just to make it so that you can make a reservation off-site, and then you can have it delivered to the landing and put it in at the landing, and that's totally acceptable under the proposed ordinance. That was just the best way that we could figure out how to get at that issue, but certainly happy to hear any feedback or discussion on those items as well.
I guess I don't have a problem with that. Move forward with that on your guys as well is fine. To touch on Mark's point, if we are going to talk about the idea of excluding Defusky and using Pinckney Island and all that stuff, and it might already be done, maybe I'm just uneducated on this. Do Pinckney Island residents have a pass on their car that marks their car as a resident for Defusky? Do Defusky residents have a pass on their car that says that they're actually a resident of Defusky when they leave their car there for multiple days?
No?
They're supposed to.
Oh.
So we have had that issue before. We don't know whose car is whose.
Right.
So if we have residents that live on Defusky, after a car's been there for several days, we usually give a grace period.
Mm-hmm.
And we give the sheriff's department, let's get it towed if it's at any boat landing. We did some from C.C. Hague boat landing and got crucified. People were mad because their car was gone. We returned their cars back to the parking lot, but we don't know. So that was one thing we've talked about. Hank and I have talked about maybe our decal. So if you live on Defusky, put a decal on your car so we know that you are on Defusky.
Yeah, I mean, I think it just makes sense for us to be able to enforce this, because our ultimate goal with this as well is we have rules and regulations in place, but we have no way to enforce them. And I want to make sure our gentlemen in the back have the ability to actually enforce the rules we put in place and the tools to be successful and to be able to be handled easily. So I'm not saying charge them a fee or anything like that. I just want to be able to know so we have an idea. I think that's the last thing I had, other than the fact that if you did need more money for parking, Defusky is in economic development. Possibly $600,000 could fix that parking lot. Just throwing it out there.
Is that a curveball you throwing?
No, just throwing it out there.
Now, I don't think we're saying we want to just eliminate Defusky at all. I think we want to give some specificity to what is taking place on Defusky so that everybody knows these are the rules and regulations.
That's a better way to put it. I appreciate that.
Yeah, it's going to be excluding just a few things, like I said, the things that talk about cargo and passengers.
Yeah, right,
and-
so I think it can be written positively rather than we're just gonna, we're gonna forgive you.
If I may, one note as we're working towards this, and I think we understand your comments, or Dylan does at least, is when we're talking about Defusky and C.C. Hague, we just have to be careful describing C.C. Hague, because as we know, the bridge is coming through and it will disrupt the ferry. And so Hank's looking at different ferry locations.
Yeah.
And so today, as the boat landing and ferry exists, may not exist exactly like that. So just as we go through this, we just need to make sure it's a little nuanced, and we have to make the special
Could it
provisions.
just be done as the ferry embarkation location?
We could add that, or we could say that for C.C. Hague or Jenkins Island, you don't have those limits. And council could also direct that we go to a parking pass permit or decal system for visitors and residents of Defusky Island, so you can identify them and have that pass in their car, and then they can stay there for a longer period, as opposed to the others that are limited in their time.
If we go to Jenkins Island, the ferry system may look a little bit different than it does today, because right now we have a boat ramp next to a ferry pass. So people that are coming to Defusky with a barge, small barge, they're coming to the boat landing, not the ferry. So the ferry may not even actually have a land. It may just be a dock and only a boat pulls up to it at Jenkins Island potentially. So we can talk through that, but just know as you're defining exactly what you want to do, we have to have some
Right.
special language
We
there.
may have to come back and amend again, because this is what we have now. And it's going to be a year or two before, maybe 3 or 4, the way things go, before we finalize exactly where our ferry system is going to be located. Okay.
Any other discussion?
I have a question for Jared. You turn down or off the air conditioning?
Yeah, so I put in a request to
Please,
facilities
please,
about.
it's freezing here. My feet are like ice cubes.
It's controlled remotely.
Yeah, everybody's saying
and
the
it's-
same thing.
It's been
It's
increased last 30 minutes or
What's
so.
been increased, the air conditioning?
Yeah, so it should be getting warmer.
Just
Oh, yeah.
pass out blankets,
Just in-
we'll be okay.
Just in time for us to leave. Oh.
I never worry, Jack. Oh, yeah, I'm sorry.
No?
It was hot last week.
Last week it was
Those would
hot?
be windows.
No,
Yeah.
Okay.
it was fine.
Okay.
All right,
now-
let's gather this back real quick so we can get through this. Is there any other discussion on this matter?
No?
Or do we give him enough things to fix
Yeah.
for us?
Yeah. 2
All right.
words, fix it.
So the plan is to come back to this committee in January.
Yeah, I would say that's probably the best
Yeah.
action now for another discussion. We have some of those, and let's see what options we can actually change into it, change in it. And then also, if we could, for whoever is enforcing it, whether it is us at the county or law enforcement, if there's anything that they see that they might need in there that would help them out to be successful and their jobs easier, let's see if there's something else we can bring back for discussion for that too. I mean, I don't think there's any need to rush this. Let's just get it right.
All right.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you all.
All right, we'll close the discussion on that item and move on to the next one. Discussion concerning a request by a county resident to add a new ordinance to prohibit the discharge of firearms near residences, commercial buildings, public
Jerry?
buildings, and play areas in the rural Beaufort County. Do I have a motion to put this on?
I'll make the motion.
I'll second it.
Thank you. This is up for discussion.
Okay, I'll introduce the topic here. Can you pull up the bullet holes in the residence, the pictures of the bullet holes?
You don't want this yet?
No, the pictures of the bullet holes. So this is the neighborhood adjacent to New Riverside Road over there in the Bluffton Pritchard Lake Drive area. And
Where is it?
In Riverside.
Lake.
Mr. Bratcher and community members have been in contact with council, the sheriff, and staff in regards to a resident who lives in the rural county that shoots his weapons on his property, but the rounds don't stay on his property. They'll go over his berm or whatever he's got there and then go into the neighborhood. And I'm going to show you, there's bullet holes up next to the electric box there. Just flip through the pictures there. And different areas in that neighborhood, and there's a school in that neighborhood. And I'm going to let Mr. Bratcher make his presentation to you because he's requesting that the county adopt a weapons discharge ordinance to prohibit discharge of a weapon within whatever distance from a residence or a park or a school. And there is a school on the opposite side of this neighborhood, and a round could travel to that school there as well. Now, I provided in your backup materials a copy of the state law regarding discharging firearms at or into dwellings, structures, enclosures, vehicles, or equipment, and the penalties. And I'm going to read the first paragraph of the state ordinance that's relevant here, just to give you perspective. It's unlawful for a person to discharge or cause to be discharged unlawfully firearms at or into a dwelling house or building, structure, or enclosure regularly occupied by persons. A person who violates provisions of the subsection is guilty of a felony and upon conviction must be fined not more than $1,000 or imprisoned not more than 10 years or both. So it's a 10-year penalty if you're firing a weapon into a house or at a house. It's a state law, so that has to be enforced by law enforcement, meaning a deputy sheriff or a police officer, depending on whether it's in a municipality or in rural county. All right, so we don't have an ordinance regarding discharge of weapons. This came up last year, there's discussion. Councilman Passman had rounds fired near their neighborhood at River Bend there in Okatee Bluffton. At that time, in conversations with council and staff and the sheriff's office, it was decided that it wasn't appropriate to draft an ordinance, but Councilman Passman can discuss that during the discussion part of this and give you his perspective as far as what transpired, because he was heavily involved in that. I will tell you that Charleston has passed an ordinance just last month regarding discharge of weapons, and I'm going to read you the key part of that ordinance. Discharge of firearms in unincorporated areas of the county. It's unlawful. It shall be unlawful for any person in the unincorporated areas of the county to discharge a firearm within 100 feet of any building, dwelling, or other structure, except with the express permission of the owner or occupants of any such building, dwelling, or structure. And the penalty there, because it would be addressed in magistrate's court or municipal court as a summary penalty, would be a fine of up to $500 or 30 days in jail. And being an ordinance, it can be enforced by either code enforcement or law enforcement. So either one could enforce that ordinance there. They give different exceptions, like if it's an enclosed building, a rifle range or a pistol range, things of that nature. But Charleston passed it, but they made it to where you couldn't do it within 100 feet. That may be more restrictive than you want for rural Beaufort County. I don't know, but I just tell you what has recently happened to our neighbor to the north, passing that ordinance there. Okay, given that, I don't want to steal Jeremy's thunder. I know he's got a proposed ordinance he wants to talk to you about and give you the history in much more detail as far as what's going on in the neighborhood and the fear that the residents live in there for themselves and their children. And so with that, I'm going to let him make his presentation. I believe you all have a copy of that in your backup as well.
And just while Jeremy's coming up, the communities in the town of Bluffton, Jeremy lives in Bluffton, the person doing the shooting is in unincorporated Beaufort, hence the complexity.
Yeah,
Go ahead,
no,
Jeremy.
thank you. Thank you, Brian, everybody. Did everyone have a chance to review the presentation I'd sent? Fabulous. And as Mr. Hulbert mentioned, I do have a few of my neighbors here, and they'd love to share just a couple of words at the very end, just for some other firsthand perspective. Truly thankful that you guys give me the time to present this formally, and really the goal today is simple: to be part of the solution in Beaufort County, proactively modernizing an outdated ordinance before it results in tragedy, not after. Everything you'll hear today is the product of months of documentation, coordination, and responsibility from a community that's engaged in solving this problem. And we come here today not with complaints, but with solutions and wanting to be part of that solution. If you want to, oh, I've got a clicker. Fabulous.
You get it.
Bravo. Oh, gotcha. There we go. Love it. So I've got just some additional commentary to add as we kind of look through this. I want to emphasize up front, this is not a Lakes at New Riverside problem alone. This is a Beaufort County growth problem. It's great that we're growing, but with that growth comes some other impact. The only reason our neighborhood is one of the first to experience this is due to the growth in the New Riverside area. This exact scenario, rural lots with permissive firearm discharge adjacent to dense subdivisions and new schools. That's the situation that's growing across the county and in the New Riverside corridor specifically, as well as Okatee, parts of St. Helena, Northern Bluffton, etc. This issue will continue to repeat itself unless modern standards keep pace with population growth. So how's this escalated? This began back in April of 2024 with the photos you saw earlier. That was a suspected fence and siding penetration where somebody not connected with the situation, basically a resident was told by his landscaper, hey, sorry, I messed your fence up, there's a hole in your fence, I'll pay for it. He had no reason to think of otherwise, right? Well, it wasn't until April of this year, 2025, and then May when it really picked up, when multiple residents heard not just the repeated discharge of a firearm, but also the sonic buzz of a bullet flying above head. I personally have had that happen to me twice. In the maps that you see that I had shared, and we'll look at them momentarily, I was walking southbound on Russell Road toward an intersection of Russell Road and Hartwell Road. I'd heard the gunshots for a few minutes. I was walking my dog, and all of a sudden I heard that zzz as it goes over my head. I'm not military, law enforcement. There's not a reason I should have heard that anywhere, let alone my neighborhood while walking my dog, right? That's when I start, in the community, we start raising these concerns. And then I'm at 8 Hartwell Road. You go down as far as 84 Hartwell Road, where another resident has had that same thing in his backyard. Think of all the homes in between and everything beyond that. Also in my backyard, it happened again when my wife and I were in the backyard. And that's just when I'm outside. I'm not outside all day. So just imagine the frequency of this and the risk that is imminent, because the direction of this fire, and we'll see momentarily, is directly toward homes, the mailbox kiosk, where all the mailboxes are. That mailbox kiosk is also where school children wait for the bus and get off the bus. Ballistic, a bullet from a handgun, generally speaking, will travel up to 3 miles. That new elementary school that's being built between Lakes and New Riverside and the high school is about 2,200 feet, less than half a mile. And all those trees that used to separate, those are gone now. So ballistic range, you've got a new elementary school being built there. I digress. One moment. There we go. So in preparing for today, I spoke with residents who are former military, law enforcement, firearm instructors. Each confirmed that the sound and trajectory were fully consistent with rounds breaking the sound barrier over a residential property. This is how we reached more than 118 signatures within 24 hours when we had the opportunity to speak to you guys back on the 23rd at Bluffton Town Hall. The urgency is real and the danger is present. From a real world impact, residents have altered their daily behavior. In speaking with my neighbors, children aren't allowed to play in their backyards. Parents are now driving their children to school instead of allowing them to wait at the bus stop. Joggers are avoiding Russell Road and Hartwell Road intersection. People are walking their dogs in other areas because they've got gunfire 200 feet away, pointing in their direction, as has been confirmed by Beaufort County Sheriff's Office, who have been to the site, and the shooter has shown them where he's shooting, how he's shooting, and the direction he's shooting. It's all documented. He is shooting directly in toward the neighborhood, which violates state law, but Beaufort County Sheriff's Office, to this day, only refers to county ordinance. Any reasonable person knows that's not rational. And in the fall of 2026, 100 elementary students will be in an open campus under a half-mile downrange. That school's under construction. It's not open yet. We have a chance to resolve this before that imminent danger compounds. And that's why we're here today, to help prevent the predictable. South Carolina law 16-23-440 is unambiguous. It is a felony to discharge a firearm at or into a dwelling or occupied structure. We've already seen photos of that. The challenge, and this is important, is enforcement. Deputies are citing outdated county ordinances, not the state statute, in their investigations. So one of our essential questions for today is the following. Where do we stand with retraining or re-educating deputies on the applicable state statute as committed to during the October 23rd meeting that we had in Bluffton Town Hall? That was one of the takeaways that I had documented in my notes from that meeting. To date, nothing has changed that I've observed with the response from Beaufort County Sheriff's Office. The map we're looking at right now, the yellow circle with the red X, that is where BCSO has confirmed that that resident is shooting. Correct. The two green dots immediately to the left and then the green dot at the top, those are residents who have firsthand accounts of bullets traveling close enough to their person that they heard the buzz as it goes overhead. Now that red circle, that's the risk area. The bottom left, the circle with the X in it, that's the mailbox kiosk, where also every human has to go pick up their mail. The children wait to get on the bus, and they exit the bus right there. Now, if he's shooting in that direction, doesn't take a rocket science to see what the risk is. Now, if you look at those two green dots and you see a red dot, that is the house that Mr. Holbert showed that has the bullet lodged in its side. Went through the fence, through the siding, through the plywood, into a stud, and it remains there today. It's been sealed with caulk. When that homeowner was originally told, my landscaper threw a rock and it hit. Well, it's still in there. We have not jeopardized chain of custody on that. It still resides there. Bluffton PD and BCSO have both visited the property. They've taken account of it. They won't remove it, but they will be present if we choose to have it removed. Again, that costs money, et cetera, et cetera. So more to come on that. But you can do the math. We all know what's in there. All right. Now, third-party confirmation. One point that's extremely relevant for your consideration, K. Hovnanian Homes. That's the developer, also the developer who still controls the HOA. This developer purchased some of the land of Lakes of New Riverside from the shooter and currently rents the dirt road. So you see that road going vertical between the green circle and the yellow circle. That's a dirt road. That road is owned by the resident at 219 and 223 Palmetto Bluff Road. Okay? So K. Hovnanian is renting that service road for construction for the other developments, other phases of the development. So obviously they have a vested interest in keeping this person happy because they rent this road. However, they have now issued a formal attorney cease and desist letter to that business partner. Obviously they wouldn't do this lightly. They wouldn't do it unless their attorneys validated the danger, and they would absolutely not do this unless evidence supported it. This confirmation from a large national company, publicly traded, with its own liability considerations, should carry significant weight. As Mr. Holbert mentioned, Charleston County has recently updated their ordinance with direction and distance-based restrictions. Richland County now has buffers for homes and schools. Williamson County, Tennessee has density-based rules. Chatham County, Georgia, permit and containment standards. Every one of these balances rights with safety. Every one reflects growth and suburbanization. Every one of these counties acted before something catastrophic happened. Earlier today, and you may not have had a chance to review it, earlier today I did share a unofficial proposal that my non-legal expertise put together. I shared this back in October with the small group I met with. Just an example of something that might be realistic and rational. By all means, use it as a foundation for the modernization. Our proposal was intentionally written around 4 principles: safety buffers, clear distance and direction standards near homes, schools, and walking paths. Between New Riverside Road and the homes is a walking path that goes the entire distance from Palmetto Bluff, New and Old Palmetto Bluff Road, all the way to the circle. Every human walking down that walking trail is now subject to risk from the shooter. Ballistic containment. If you shoot recreationally, you must contain your rounds, period. That's not happening. Permitted private berms, not to restrict shooting, but to validate they are built safely. That's something that BCSO or someone needs to regulate. What I can tell you, if you drive out there, there is a berm between the Lakes of New Riverside, it's an earthen berm, between Lakes of New Riverside and that dirt road, that service road, okay? 219 and 223 Palmetto Bluff Road is in unincorporated Beaufort County. The road, unincorporated Beaufort County. The berm, town of Bluffton. He is shooting from county into a berm on property that is not his, across the county line into town of Bluffton. We have reason to believe, and multiple eyewitness accounts, that there are also tree stands on his property, which further compounds the risk of it coming into the neighborhood because now it's above the berm. All of the math, all of the directional situations all align. This is something where, as growth continues, the risk will continue to mount. Not just here, this is just a great example from which we can act.
Jeremy, has there been any impact from the HOA developer sending the letter?
That letter was sent a week and a half to 2 weeks ago.
A cease and desist, right?
What I can, actually about a week ago, what I can tell you is that we may go 2 months without hearing any gunshots. Then we might have 4 days in a row where it's pop, 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 and you don't hear anything. Then the next day, it could be 45 minutes to an hour. And it's not just handgun. I'm a gun owner myself. You can tell the difference between 9mm handgun and .223 round coming from a rifle. He's shooting all the above. And if the handgun's going to go 3 miles, I'm not an expert, but a .223 is going to go much further because you got a lot more gunpowder though in that projectile. The last item on that is clear enforcement expectations. Deputies should have a standard to apply consistently, not a patchwork interpretation. We've shown that the interpretation varies, and no one is looking at state law, only the county ordinance. It's not about restricting firearm ownership. This is about responsible discharge standards that match today's population density. Specific requests of the county. Today, we respectfully request the committee to commit to the following 4 items. 1, advance this ordinance modernization initiative to the full council for formal review and first vote at the end of this calendar year. Waiting until January, February, or longer places us into peak construction and growth season and closer to the opening of a school. Every day we wait is another day the inevitable could happen. Number 2, direct the county's legal team to form a working group that includes county attorney's office, sheriff's office, town of Bluffton legal or staff, and a representative from the Beaufort County School Board. Item 3, issue interim enforcement clarification for Beaufort County Sheriff's Office. Ensure deputies are able to and expected to apply state statute 16-23-440 when rounds travel toward homes. And item 4, commit to a December 31st, 2025 window for drafting, reviewing, and publicly presenting a modernization ordinance for a first vote. Members of the committee, this is your moment to lead on a modernization update that is overdue, bipartisan, and squarely focused on public safety. I respectfully ask, are there any remaining questions I can answer today?
All right, we'll open it up. Mr. Passman?
Certainly, this is a time we have to do something. My neighborhood has been affected in the past. We did have a bullet go into a house while someone was not there. Had they been sitting where the bullet was, because they always do that every morning, they would have been killed.
Wow.
We stopped it for a period of time. it has started again. So it is time for us to put the appropriate ordinance into place. Thank you very much for your presentation. Now we have to move on and do it.
Mr. Chairman, could I just ask Mr. Passerman to explain some of the issues relating to getting a resolution in your neighborhood at the time?
The shooting was going on private property that they didn't even own. The owner was unaware that they were using their property for shooting. That was resolved for a period of time. The owner is an absentee owner. They don't live there. Or they live out of state. So it's back again. So we do have to put some teeth in an ordinance because it's not just your neighborhood and mine. We continue to grow in areas that used to be totally treed.
Exactly.
They're not anymore, but there's still people that are on property using firearms of all kinds, whether
Right.
they're handguns or long guns.
Doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter.
Thank you.
Mr. Lawson.
Yeah, and obviously, I was notified of this, I think, like you might have reached out to
April.
me. I got May 20th, I just looked at my email.
Okay.
That you had reached out to
The
me.
very first, and
Yeah.
every one since.
And we got Chief Babkowitz and Sheriff Tanner involved, and there is a state law that says, that protects people from being fired at and how, but obviously that, whatever the state law is not protecting our citizens, so we're gonna have to do some type of ordinance.
I would just point out that we do have the sheriff's office
Yeah, I
representatives here
was
if you
gonna
wanted to hear
say-
from them.
Could he maybe approach?
100%. It's open discussion.
Come on down. Mr. Hatfield, everybody come on down. Because really, we have to work with you.
You probably
Yes.
don't want me to speak because
Yes, we
I
do.
would take exception to the learned attorney here saying those are bullet holes and there's a bullet in there.
That's
Thanks
what-
for your expertise, appreciate that.
That's how they were presented
And
to
number
us.
two, we don't need somebody to tell us what the state law is. We know very clear what it is. You have to have intention. Number one, you have to have an unlawful act. Okay, so let's get that clear. And I brought our learned attorney here who can explain it a little bit more eloquently than I will do, for sure, because if people getting in our business tell us what we are doing and what we're not doing is not appropriate. I agree that you probably need that ordinance, Beaufort County ordinance changed. Go ahead, sir.
Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Dustin Wetzel. I'm an Assistant General Counsel with the Sheriff's Office. Brian Kill and I are both here on behalf of the Sheriff's Office. I think at first, obviously, your concerns from your residents are absolutely valid. I think that there's no question about that. The question, and I think what Chief Hatfield is trying to get at, is the state statute, shooting into an occupied dwelling. It does require a couple different things. One is an unlawful act. And then most importantly, when the sheriff's office or any law enforcement agency is investigating an alleged crime and then trying to make a decision if you're going to actually prosecute it, is one, what's the mens rea, what's the criminal intent? And then two, proving the identity of the person who committed the offense. So in this particular case, where the residence was potentially hit by a bullet, we don't know that right now. But if that were to be the case, it was about 1.5 years ago, so there would be certainly a challenge in trying to determine who may have fired that round. And if that could be determined, maybe there's a possibility for a criminal charge there. I know that's not necessarily the focus right now. The question is going forward, how do you prevent this? So from an ordinance perspective, you referenced some of the ordinances from Charleston County, for example, Lexington as well. And reading those, I think they're well drafted. The question is, how would it apply in Beaufort County? You have almost 1,000 square miles of area. You have almost 200,000 residents, and you have a variety of communities. So if you were to craft an ordinance that would be enforced from a law enforcement perspective, how do we enforce that? So obviously, if there's an ordinance, law enforcement will enforce that. But the question is, how do you craft it in such a way that it's actually going to have a desired effect? Because if you look at the Charleston ordinance, there's, I think, a 100-foot radius. If you look at the Lexington ordinance, it's a 200 or 300-foot radius, depending on where those buildings are, whether it's a school or whether it's a residential community. So in this particular instance, you have a residence that's at, I think, 219 and 223, unless I got those wrong, I apologize. I think that would be outside. I don't know if necessarily the ordinances in Charleston and in Lexington probably wouldn't have that desired effect because it's further away. So the question becomes, how do you craft an ordinance that can be applied fairly, but also do protect residents that are in unincorporated areas, such as New Riverside? So I don't have a good answer for that. I don't know. I certainly can, from a law enforcement, from a lawyer perspective, try to answer questions, try to help shape that argument, if you will. But how do you craft that ordinance so that it has that desired effect? And I don't know how we do that. There are laws on the books, so to speak, the shooting into an occupied dwelling. But again, it's an unlawful act. You have to prove that mens rea, that criminal intent. It's silent as far as the statute as to what's criminal intent is for shooting into an occupied dwelling. So you're typically looking at a reckless intent. So how do you prove that? And also, how do you prove the identity of the shooter? So certainly if a criminal act was committed or alleged to have been committed, the sheriff's office will investigate it and if appropriate, make a charge. I think in this particular instance, we don't have the evidence for that. So moving forward, what do we do? And I don't have a good answer for that, but I'm certainly happy to try to answer any questions or provide any other guidance or research that we may be able to do.
And as you said, enforcement is going to be the key, and it's very difficult because our neighbors called the sheriff's office. They do come out
Yes, sir.
to do the investigation, but by the time they get out there, the shooting has stopped or the person has left the premises and they only see, shells on the ground. So that is part and parcel of the problem we have as well. But to your point, that doesn't mean we shouldn't craft an ordinance. That just means that the ordinance has to be crafted in such a way that you have an opportunity to enforce that.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Chairman, can I speak to, because I also had some concern about discharging firearms in a rural community, my community, basically St. Helena, and what can be done about that. And I was recently told about an incident that happened where a person came outside in a crowded area and shot up in the air. And nothing happened to that person because he has a right to discharge his firearm in a rural community. So I asked the question, if I sit at a function like what we recently had at the Penn Center, and you got a whole crowd of people there, and I take a gun and I fire it up in the air, can I get away with that?
I think it depends on why you're doing it or who's around. There's something called an aggravated breach
So I
of peace.
can't get away with it.
I'm not saying that. It depends on the investigation. So there are laws that may apply to that.
That's the concern I have, and that's why I'm also in support of some kind of regulation. When I saw the county council in Charleston passing that ordinance, I said, hey, we need to do something similar to this. So I'm looking forward to something similar to what can be done to resolve this. And I also, in an area where hunters pervasive. So, I mean, just firing a gun is nothing, but if you're in a public place or near a residence like that, I mean, there should be some kind of restriction to that. So I don't know.
Well, I think that's the question for the council is what you would like to craft as far as an ordinance that may prohibit that, but at the same time not prevent somebody who may be engaged in hunting activity or other lawful activity.
I don't want to bother them.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
I would assume that you would be willing to help craft such an ordinance?
I think any ordinance that was to be drafted, we'd be more than happy to provide
We have to
input.
collaborate.
Or exactly. I don't think it'd be appropriate for us to take the lead on that
Oh, no,
from an
no, I
enforcement
meant,
perspective.
work with us to
But
make sure it's
absolutely,
correct. Yeah,
because if you may or may not be aware of this, the deputies will make charges that end up in magistrate's court. If you
Yep.
pass an ordinance, it'll be in magistrate's court. So Brian Kill and I will prosecute those cases. So we're the attorneys for the sheriff's office, but we'll also prosecute those cases as well. So we can give you a perspective on not only enforcement, but also prosecution specifically towards the ordinance.
And I don't want to interrupt, but I think it's Brian Kill, just so if you don't know. There's the people that are going to prosecute these cases are sitting in this room. And so we need to have teeth in this if you're going to do this. You tried this, I think, a year ago with the feet. It wasn't going to happen. One of the problems we have is, Major Purdy pointed out earlier as we're trying to figure this out, is that even if we go out on a noise ordinance, we got to catch them. And so how am I going to prove, how is Dylan going to prove, how is Dustin going to prove that somebody is 200, 300 feet from their house when they do that? I'm prior law enforcement. I remember a call I went on DNR, and the guy's shotgun wad's sitting right there, and we're trying to figure out where was he standing when he shot that shotgun. That's a prosecution issue that y'all need to think about when you do that. And I don't think, and with all due respect, I do empathize with your subdivision. I live in Shell Point. They tell us every morning they're about to start shooting, whether it's Paris Island or whether it's people behind us, right? We deal with it, okay? But what I will also say is, you've got to think about how far from the house you're going to do this. Charleston and Richland and these other counties, they clearly look to the state statute and the deer hunting statute, which is what, 300 feet?
Oh, yeah,
and you got to be off the ground, which you have deer hunting. If he's not in violation of that, he's not going to be in violation of your order. So we've got to think about when we're doing that. And I also think, and I appreciate it's a Bluffton issue, but it's not. It's a St. Helena issue. It's a Port Royal issue. It's a Beaufort issue. So if you're going to do that, you got to bring in everybody. Because I think we've tried this before, and I agree. I don't want somebody walking around their subdivision and not be able to walk somewhere. But we've got to do it, and we've got to do it lawfully. And I am concerned about the Chatham County Savannah issue. They had a gun ordinance. It just was struck down again. So if you're going to do that, you got to do it slowly and do it right. That's my only legal, that's all I've got.
So I think our goal was to collaborate with the sheriff's office and all of you. We talked about this with Jeremy when we were there. Obviously, we can't do it in a bubble. And we got the town of Bluffton, and we got unincorporated Beaufort. And south of the Broad is very different in density than north of the Broad. So you can't just say no shooting a firearm. But I am very concerned about the children because that school is going to go up. There's a whole campus there. It's not just one little school. And so I'm very concerned about that. So we do need to collaborate on this.
Sure.
If I could add one thing.
Mhm.
Just use the microphone so they can get it on the record.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Thank you.
if I could add one item, if you look at the map as parts have been annexed into the town of Bluffton, you now have a small donut hole there.
Sure.
And that is where the issue lies.
Correct.
That they still think that they're surrounded by acres of loblolly pines, and now they're surrounded by miles and miles of homes. One solution could be fix that donut hole,
Yeah.
incorporate that into the town of Bluffton.
They're not going to do that.
Annex it.
Well, I'm just giving options and solutions. Or, as you guys mentioned, a possible solution. I've presented an option. I'm not an attorney, feel free to draft whatever, but I've given some options as far as density requirements, distance requirements, et cetera. And I can tell you that October, and you can, I'm sure it's recorded, BCSO non-emergency number and 911, multiple residents, including some that are here in the room today, were reporting the issue. The person on the other end said, yes, I can hear the gunshots. So they hear the gunshots through the phone, and there's still no solution. And then the other day, the operator said, yes, we know he's shooting, and he called us. One of our officers went to, secondhand information, not myself, went to his home, saw where he was going to shoot, and it's okay. Well, I can tell you that direction that he was shooting was directly toward our homes. So just giving some more context, not being combative, but that's the reality of the situation. When you have 911 and non-emergency number operator saying, yeah, we hear it, it's okay. I beg to differ.
Does Major Purdy have something to add? Since you mentioned him, I don't want to disrespect him.
We responded to calls for service out there, and I've heard the video, and it is loud. And our deputies went out there the other day, and when they got there, they were shooting in a berm. They described it as 12 to 15 feet high. They were on private property. It was in the county, and you can shoot in the county. The state law, they're shooting into a berm. It's 12 to 15 feet high. I don't know where the berm is.
It's not a debate between you two,
Yeah,
to me, please.
right.
Thank you.
So they're shooting into a berm. It appeared to be safe, and that was a different residence than the one that was in question earlier, with these rounds that were fired into the home in April of '25. I mean, we agree with it. We would like to be able to go out there and stop this. I heard the gunfire in the video. There's a little video, a woman sent the video in to us, and
it's loud. And that's where I came up, asked these guys about maybe a noise ordinance issue. It's a problem that needs to be addressed, but we need some teeth to go out and be able to put our foot down and enforce it.
All right, any other discussion before I have, I guess, a comment?
Can she speak? Can these people speak, or is it closed?
I mean, if he's your representative, that was the way we had these set up, that one person represents, but I was just about to say, if you'll let me finish, but we do have a little bit of time, so if you'd like to come up, that would be perfectly fine. Yeah, that's perfectly fine, but
Thank you all very much.
Riverbend
Yeah.
is here, there's
Okay.
open land right next to it.
Okay, it's on the other
Yes,
side.
ma'am.
If you give us your name, please.
Yes. Okay. I'm Rosemary Hughes. I live at 12 Hartwell Road. I am right next to that green dot. So I'm right next door. I'm also directly behind where the shooter, alleged shooter from 219, 223. This is my daughter, Lila. So Jeremy gave you the timeline of what was happening, the maps, and I'm really here just to give you a little bit of personally how this is impacting. And with all due respect, yes, there's the elementary school coming, and those children didn't get there yet, but my daughter's already there in the community out in Hartwell. Her friends are already there. They are already getting off at that bus stop every day by those mailboxes. So there are children, let me be clear, there are children already affected by this. And that's why I asked her to come today, to be here, and took her out of H.E. McCracken early to do so. So first, let me say thank you for giving us this opportunity to formally request the modernization of the Beaufort County Firearm Discharge Ordinance. All residents in the Lakes of New Riverside community live under this ongoing safety threat to our family members and our pets. I would like to take this opportunity to say a few words as a mother. I was asked to give the perspective as a mother and speak for some of the mothers at Lakes of New Riverside. From my own very personal perspective, my home is directly behind the person shooting. I reside at 12 Hartwell Road. My 83-year-old mother and my 12-year-old daughter live with me. I have worked for the New York City Public Schools for 30 years. I have decided to move to Bluffton to give my daughter what I thought to be a safer, better environment in both school and community. An opportunity to ride her bike, to walk home from the bus stop that is seen on that map, to play in her yard, the yard right next to the berm, right in front of the berm, with her dogs, and just be a kid. Not only is her safety and all the children's safety compromised as they walk, ride, and play, my daughter is in direct alignment with the shooter and that berm, and she has had to stop doing homework in a frenzy to move my mother, who cannot hear, and to move my daughter from my kitchen island as she's doing her homework inside my home. She has been in a panic over the worry that her hard of hearing grandmother will not hear the shooting fast enough to move, because it has happened where he's shooting and we do, nanny move, mom move, hurry up move. My mother can't hear, can't see, and has a cane. The dogs are flipping out. We have to get her to move. We no longer use our yard. We no longer use our patio. I also received a frantic text from my daughter on one recent Sunday morning as I was in Publix on May River shopping to get home because he was shooting. Complete panic, and I raced home. As I'm sure you heard the recordings, and if you wanted to hear it right now, what it sounds like in our home, I could play it for you. That is what she hears and goes into a panic. I picked my daughter up early from school today to join us this afternoon. Her presence here today is a reminder that these children are not faceless in this request. This is one of them. They are real and they are in danger. And I hope that my daughter learns today how to use her voice for herself and for others when there is a need for change. And Mr. Lawson, I did reach out to you, and you did write back to me on May 29th, and you did say you would get back to me when you heard from the county administration. But time is passing. He is shooting. He goes out there some days, he is so reckless with the pop, 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 pop. Sometimes there's loud explosions, We have a text chain that excuse me, my mouth's getting very dry from getting upset. We didn't know what those explosions were one day. What could he possibly doing? And then he went back to his pop, 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 pop. I've been faced with a decision as an ovarian cancer survivor, a single mother, a caretaker to my elderly mother. I had to find the energy to go back to New York or New Jersey, or I had to find the energy to write my emails, to call. And one of the officers told me, well, why don't you go around the block and speak with him? Should I go around that block? I hope that call is recorded because it would be in the area of May. Told me to go around the block and speak to him. Me. My cousin is Homeland Security. He said, don't you dare do that. So I'm faced with that decision now. Do I pack up? Do I pack up? How could she do her math homework and sit there? How can I go to the store and know my hard of hearing mother is there? So either we modernize this or just be honest with me if it's not going to happen, because I'm gonna go home. I'm gonna go home to New York or New Jersey, because yes, bullets fly. Bullets get through buildings sometimes. We see it on the news. But it's not a situation where you're in your home and you know somebody has the right to directly shoot to a berm that faces my kitchen table where my child is sitting. And I also feel it is relevant to mention that I am a believer in the Second Amendment. And in conversations, it gets lost with our neighbors because some people think that we're not. We want to take somebody's right away. We're not looking to take somebody's right away. I've spent months talking to neighbors to explain that that's not what's happening. And then they hear the videos. If they didn't hear it, I'm sorry, my mouth is getting very dry. I apologize. And we have more than 118 signatures, actually. So change is not easy. However, it is often necessary, and there is a sense of urgency to make this change. No one wants to reconvene after we have a victim. As a mother, I implore you to make this change. And I would like you, please, to give my daughter a moment, thank you, a moment, because she sat here and she's sick, she has a cold, because she wanted to take a moment to speak. So I would ask if you could please allow that. Okay.
You put the microphone down so we can hear you.
Thank you. Good afternoon. Thank you for giving us this opportunity. My name is Lila Hughes. I'm in 7th grade. I get off the bus on Mainland Lakes Drive every day at about 4:10 with many other kids. I don't want anyone to get hurt. Please consider changing this ordinance. I am truly afraid for myself, my mother, my grandmother, and my pets. I don't go in our yard. My grandmother bought me a saucer swing. We had it installed, and then I was not allowed to use it because we are too afraid that I will not be able to get in fast enough. But I'm also afraid while in the house. The gunshots are so loud. It is very scary. I don't want to move, but we can't go on like this. Please consider our safety and make the right decision to keep kids like me safe. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you all. Is there any other discussion from council members?
I would just like to say, I believe the next step would be we would direct administration to meet with the sheriff's office. They're here today. They're concerned. They all came. So I know the sheriff's concerned about this. I know the town of Bluffton is too. We spoke to them. We are concerned. And by the way, for the rest of council, we met with Jeremy on October 23rd. It just takes a while for county to move it along, but we never lost you in the trail. So I would direct administration, if everyone's good with that, to set up and have our attorneys meet with the sheriff's office, and not just attorneys, because you all get caught up in everything, and maybe I'm just harassing you, Mr. Hulbert. and see if we could put an ordinance, as they've all said, with teeth in it. Every one of the people from the sheriff's office said it has to have teeth. Otherwise, we're wasting time, correct? Is that right, Chief Deputy Hatfield?
Yes, ma'am. As
I have a
said earlier,
question.
State statute on absolute here, we do need this ordinance.
Thank you. I don't think, did we introduce you when you spoke?
I thought everybody knew me.
Well, I don't know if all the residents know you.
Experiences up here. My name is Michael Hatfield, and I'm the chief deputy for the sheriff's office.
Oh,
I wanted
okay.
the residents to know you too, yeah.
All right,
Okay,
than's.
that's my
Any other
suggestion.
council members
I
for
just have
closing
a question
statements?
is, do you think we can rush this along of them sitting down, rewriting the ordinance and get this to council on December 8th? And then, because it takes
Most
3
likely,
votes.
no.
Take
No?
time.
It takes 3 votes for an ordinance to be passed, just letting you guys know.
It would have to go through committee
Now
first.
that puts us into February.
It's no longer.
An ordinance would have to go through committee first, but again, we would have to draft it, and then we would vet it through
We'll
law
need the sheriff's
enforcement,
office.
get their comments on it, and then we'd also want to route it through the other municipalities for their law enforcement to be able to speak, because again, it's a large county with municipalities, and they may have similar situations, but they should have their input before we draft the ordinance. It wouldn't apply in the municipalities, but we want to make sure we have their input so it's fully considered and vetted. But it definitely needs to come back to committee as a draft ordinance for discussion after our sheriff's office has had a chance to review it and provide their input. But the chief has to promise not to be so grumpy when he reviews it.
Well, no, could,
We didn't see anything yet. And I will say this.
We also need to include our state representatives in this discussion. I'm glad that we're having this discussion. I'm sorry for the residents that are actually having to live through this ordeal and this nightmare, but it's an ongoing problem, and unless we take the initiative to really address it, it's just going to continue, and it's only going to get worse.
I'm sorry, Deputy Chief, go ahead, come up to the microphone, yes.
I thought everybody could hear me back there, but.
Nope.
In any event, it would be most appropriate that we did have Batkowitz and Stephanie Price and Jeffrey Myers from Port Royal all on board with this, because it would be really good if we did it everywhere the same way, the same way.
Yep, we agree.
Mr. Glover, you said you had another comment?
No, I don't have a comment, but, Mr. Chairman, I'm the council member that brought number D, and without a lot of delay, I would like, if you don't mind folding that into the discussion with the sheriff and the county administrator.
I don't think we need the sheriff to approve us putting signs up that say
I'd like
no
to have,
concealable.
I understand
we
that.
do. I
I like
think
more
it is.
enforcement and stuff as well.
Well, let's do it this way. If we
Let's
wrap.
finish this one.
I think you'll find the statute is appropriate, you can put it where you desire.
It's in
If we
there.
see it and we know it's there, that means you're approving it, and we can enforce it.
Correct.
okay, thank you.
Yeah, I would like to keep those separate, just so,
Okay.
because one we could possibly taking action on sooner rather than the other, so just to keep them separated. With that said, the one thing I will say is, I'll be upfront with you guys, one of the things in the statement you asked for by December 31st, for us to be able to do that, we would have to break every rule that we put in place on county council. We would have to. We have policies in place for checks and balances, so none of us can push anything through illegally. That it has to go through staff first to draft it. We have to talk to the other municipalities because we want to get this right. And then it comes to committee, then it goes to county council. The reason for that is you could do the same thing with funds. Things should get passed through before community ever even knows about it. We had the same process with our boat landings earlier today. The first time we had that meeting, we had about 100 people in here. So it is that open conversation, it is that dialogue. I feel for you guys. This is something we need to figure out and come up with the right solution to make sure that it works not only in your area, town of Bluffton, Beaufort, and we can get something put together to give our law enforcement the tools that they need to be able to rectify the situation, so we don't have to deal with this anymore, and you guys don't have to deal with this anymore.
So, do you need a motion, or was it?
No.
Just the
No.
direction of
Discussion.
staff,
They know
we should
what
be
we've
fine.
done.
It's also important for them to know that when an ordinance is put forth, and if it comes out of committee and goes to council, it takes 3 readings at council, so it's a
Yeah, that's what I
process
just
that
said.
takes a while,
And a public hearing.
Yeah.
You're looking at February.
or March.
if
But
you're
it
lucky,
could,
yeah.
Mr. Chair.
Yep,
I
then
have
let's wrap this up.
One more
We still do-
question. Yeah,
yep.
I agree. Is there any way that the county could put a a restraining order on this guy not to shoot guns at a certain time?
Only a judge can give a restraining order.
Oh, a judge? Oh.
All right, with that, I think our staff has direction to work with law enforcement, and then after that with the municipalities to make sure that we can get something done here. I would encourage the residents of that area to keep Sheriff's Department and the rest of us up to date of any other, I guess, actions being taken, especially because you said a letter was sent for a cease and desist a week ago. So just to keep us up to date, so we have all information, they have all information, so if something does come out where action can be taken against this individual, there is a record of that. I mean, I'm sure they would appreciate that as well if need be. All right, we will close item discussion number C. That will go forward.
Thank the Sheriff Department people.
Thank
for
you.
coming. Thank you, and thank you to our residents.
Thank you, guys. We will move over to our last item of the day, discussion concerning a request by a...
I'm glad you didn't shoot me.
Discussion concerning a request by a county council member to address whether signs should be placed at the entryway of every county-owned building to inform the public that firearms are prohibited in public buildings. We have a motion to put this discussion on.
A motion.
Second?
I'll second it.
All right, we will give them a second to exit so we can have this discussion. Ryan, the floor is yours, sir.
Okay, I agreed to just tee this up. But this request to put this on the agenda came from Councilman York, related to an incident that occurred where someone brought a weapon and showed it around at the Scott Recreation Center. And he then inquired as far as were there laws prohibiting that or what's going on. I guess the individual was, I don't know if he was arrested, but he was taken away but then released because you're allowed to bring a weapon onto public property. What the state law prohibits is bringing a weapon into a public building. So you can prohibit weapons in a public building for all except for obviously law enforcement. But the concern was, as I understand it from Councilman Glover, and then I'll let him lead the discussion, is should council direct staff to ensure that there are signs on each of our public buildings, not all the properties, just the buildings at their entryways that inform the public that weapons are prohibited. And there's two aspects to that. One are just weapons in general, but then you've got a separate statute that deals with prohibiting concealed weapons now, so you'd have to meet the criteria for that sign in the statute and to put that up. So you could have it with just, I would recommend having two, one for all weapons and then one for concealed weapons, because if you don't want weapons, you certainly don't want concealed weapons with the open carry law. Okay, so with that, unless there's questions on the statutes that I gave you in your backup material, I'll let Councilman Glover lead the discussion for what occurred.
Sure, thank you. The facility that was basically displaying these weapons is part of our recreation program, which has both children there as well as seniors. And there was no discharge of the firearms, but it was a display of firearms there, and it was very intimidating by a lot of the residents there, because now they're concerned about their own safety, et cetera, et cetera. So the question becomes, what can be done and what can be brought in as far as adding some kind of penalty, consequence for bringing any kind of firearms on the property. The law basically said you can have it in your vehicle, but can you display it? And if they are not allowed to display it, then can we have some kind of ordinance to prevent them from showcasing their guns on a public property? And I don't know either.
Just to be clear, state law does prohibit bringing a weapon onto school property. It's just the other public property that we're talking about.
But but they can have the guns, based on what I read, in their vehicle.
On
school property.
I don't think you can bring a gun at all on school property.
I don't think so either.
Right, I don't
No.
think you can.
School property, the statute prohibits that. You don't want guns around the kids or anything, but on public property, and we had this issue arise just recently where they were bringing guns in the truck to our convenience centers. So the question was, could we prohibit that? And in researching the issue, we can't prohibit them having the guns in their vehicles while they go to the convenience center. Now, that doesn't mean they can bring it out and point it at anybody. That's against the law clearly. So they're not prohibited from bringing it on the public property, only in public buildings.
Right. You know, when I read this, and I get it, weapons, no weapons, that to me is a little more inclusive. But when I read no concealable weapon, and I've had this discussion with my son and other law enforcement, so if I want to bring my shotgun, it's not concealable, right? Can't hide it, I'm not tall enough.
I've seen people put it in their pants and walk.
I'm not tall enough to do that, but I'm just saying, that's why I want the no weapons and the no concealable. Those are more handgun-like and so on.
It's just clear to show that everything's prohibited.
Right, and the sheriff has very specific requirements for the sign, because he has to enforce that. And if the sign is not properly displayed or doesn't say what the intent is, he can't
It's actually
prosecute.
state code.
So that's another thing. If we're going to do that, the sheriff's office is gonna have to be involved.
It's actually state code tells you it has to be 8 by 12, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah,
Yes,
right.
ma'am.
Yeah, that's all in the state code. I know this, we investigated this in Sun City, and then it becomes, well, what about the tennis courts? And then they gotta be bigger, and it just got unwieldy.
So I guess we're just looking for guidance as far as you want the
I
administrator
think we should do it.
to do it for all of the county-owned buildings in the county.
That's a lot of buildings.
It's every entrance.
And, yes, and at the same time,
This is your.
the way the state is
I'm off to
moving,
the side and we've been here all day.
gun issues is prevalent. So I think we should do whatever we can to at least protect the general public from coming to our public buildings.
Excluding the sheriff's office buildings, of course.
Excluding sheriff's office, yes. Yeah.
I don't know, I'm a Second Amendment guy, I'd have a tough time
So
voting
am
for anything, doesn't mean I can't be persuaded, but right now, I mean, again, I don't think I would support it.
Right,
Well,
well, we're
I'm-
following the law. If the law says you cannot bring a firearm into a public building, we can post a sign there. That's not violating your rights. It's just saying it's a public building, you can't bring firearms in there, and you can't bring a concealed weapon in there.
I guess my question is, are we gonna put a metal detector at every building that we have that sign?
Nope,
I don't think
this is a different thing.
I think just the announcement.
I'll
would
explain
be-
exactly why you have to. Why you would have to is if you're not gonna enforce it, then all you're doing is people that are abiding by the law, abide by the law, and the ones that aren't. Our schools have proven that.
Oh, yeah.
Our schools have proven that over the years, when you talk about the things that are happening in schools. So if we're gonna go down this road, then we better be ready to fund metal detectors and security at every single location that has that weapon up. I understand the state law. I'm saying I might not agree with the state law. What I'm saying is if you're gonna put people at risk, that the ones that are abiding by the law,
A lot of public businesses right now are prohibiting guns in there.
and they have that right as a public
Yes,
business.
Yes, and also, that's why I'm asking us to do the same thing.
So
They're
what
not
I,
enforcing it like having metal
There's gonna
detectors.
be a cost.
To tell you that though, those public businesses are held liable for anything that happens inside that building.
And we are too.
Correct?
so can I
So
tell you what
are
I
we
was
gonna
told?
enforce it is my question.
What I was told by Securitas and other law enforcement, if you don't have the sign, don't bother calling the sheriff to come because you didn't put the sign up. That is what stopped us. in
Right.
some sense. You gotta have the sign, and then if Jared walks in and pulls his gun, now the sheriff can come. That's what I was told. Or your shotgun, whatever.
Then I'm for putting up the signs.
Is that correct, Mr. Albert? No sign, they won't, there's nothing they can do, it's an open carry state.
Well, but I will tell you, the statute prohibits guns in public buildings.
Public buildings, yeah.
Yeah.
So it's just a reminder to people.
Right.
Council may also consider whether or not to put it where there are buildings accessible by the public. The public doesn't go into all of our buildings, but
Right.
like our administration building or the Myrtle Park building, buildings
yes,
like
indeed.
that, where the public are going in, you may want to consider, all right, in those buildings you do it. You may want to consider go further as far as the office buildings where administrative staff is working. We just need the guidance from council as far as, is there direction from council as far as putting those signs up or not?
Am I not correct that I saw them at the Bluffton Library door?
I couldn't
We were
answer that.
just there, I just saw it on the door.
Maybe.
That's our building.
They may be up, but is it just the decal with the gun and a circle and a thing there? Or is it the
Right.
concealable weapons
That's what
one,
it is.
8x12?
It's 8x12, it's a white thing. I'm gonna see tomorrow night when I go.
That's my only conversation. I mean, if we're gonna go down that road, I wanna know the enforcement of it. I understand the state law, but if you're gonna say that we're gonna put that out, then just like these people here that were here today talking about enforcement of the law, we better be prepared to enforce it. And if, I wanna know how. That's gonna be my biggest question.
Sheriff is gonna do that.
The sheriff's gonna do it how? When a person walks in with it and
No, when
it's
they're caught.
underneath their jacket and no metal detector, no nothing, and they've been in there all day with it?
Well, but any county employee could tell them that, all right, weapons are prohibited here, please take it to the car. Now, if they don't do that, you have to decide whether to call the sheriff or not.
Yeah.
And I think it's also protection for our employees as well. So,
Good point, Mr. Glover.
Well, it's gotta go to full council.
Yeah.
yeah,
Right?
okay.
If there's gonna be that kind of direction, I mean,
Protecting our employees.
we
If
would
we
take
would
the
do it,
guidance
I
from the
would
committee if a
recommend-
majority of council had, there's not a consensus here, so it would have to be a council vote, because you got
Right.
people that were opposed to it and some there. So if you want us to bring this to council for a vote, we can do that. We just need guidance from council.
I just want to know if we're going to put armed officers at every one of those buildings or metal detectors. That's going to be my question. And we all know the answer is going to be no because of the cost.
No, we're not asking for that. I'm not asking for that at all.
Then we are putting our employees at jeopardy. You're just telling everybody what is not in that building. You're telling everybody that this is a gun-free zone. Statistically, gun-free zones have higher rates of mass shootings.
Ooh.
Thanks for that
Is
tip.
that a fact?
Yeah, I don't know.
It is?
This,
Obviously,
obviously, it's a discussion item. Nothing,
Okay.
no action is being
Wrap
taken
this
on
up.
this. I guess you have two different options on the spectrum if it comes forward to another committee. I'll leave it at that unless anybody else on council has anything like that. Mr. Dawson, I know you're online. Anything you'd like to add, sir?
Well, we have 4 council members not here, so maybe it just goes to full council for discussion.
So would you like us to put it on the December 8th council?
yes,
Yeah.
please.
Put it on.
I think that is up to
We'll make a
Alice Howard
decision.
to decide if it goes on their
She's gonna
agenda.
make a decision.
Put it on the agenda.
All right, with that, there is no further business.
Thank you.
And we are adjourned.